Welcome to Presentations Best Practices. In this presentation, we'll be highlighting some easy ways to create a presentation for the final project. The tips you'll hear will be useful in your other classes too. All formal communication should begin with a strategic communication process. This process from Robin Walker uses 4 steps. The first one is to identify the purpose. What are you trying to accomplish? In the final project presentation, you are covering topics to highlight your current knowledge of communication, showcasing your potential as a contemporary communicator, and outlining your planned development process in the communication field. Since this is an assignment, you also have an additional purpose unrelated to the presentation. That is getting a good grade, so you'll need to follow the critical elements of the rubric. The second step in the process is to analyze the audience. What do you know about them? And what will you do with that information? You'll need to make the presentation relevant to them, speak to their interests and needs. And by the way, did you see that I didn't use APA style for the in-text citation? APA style is intended for academic papers, not presentations or other communication formats. I will accept your presentation either way, but you should check with other instructors in the future to see if they prefer you use APA style in a presentation. Why would you want to use slides? Well, according to presentation guru Nancy Duarte, slides help them see what you're saying. Slides support the speaker. They don't include everything the speaker is saying. Slides are not intended to take the audience attention away from the speaker. Slides are there to help engage the audience by providing interesting and relevant visuals to highlight the messages. To accomplish this, you'll need to prepare simple slides that reinforce your message. So let's walk through some strategies to do just that. First off, the organization. Using an introduction, body, and conclusion organizes a presentation into a logical structure. The introduction is the opening. In this presentation I'm giving now, the title slide served as the introduction. With that slide, I provided the title and overview of what would be covered in the presentation. The body should include 1 slide for each main point of your presentation. Consider using photos, graphs, tables, or diagrams to make the slides interesting to look at. Copy should be used sparingly, and we'll talk specifically about that later. For the final project, I recommend you use the critical elements of the rubric to organize the body of your presentation so that you clearly review each element. Your grade will depend on it. The conclusion should either summarize your main points or highlight your persuasive proposal. The slide used should signal to the audience that the presentation is ending. Often, presenters use a slide similar to the introduction slide and add copies such as your name, questions, or thank you, and that's the approach that I took in this presentation. One of the first strategies to help you make a good presentation is having readable slides. To keep your audience attention focused on you as a speaker, it's important that any text used is easy to read. So this first strategy is that of contrast. Contrast means being differentiated from the other elements on the screen. The most contrast is between the colors black and white. See how easy it is to read the black text on the white or the white text on the black. But on the other side of the screen are examples where there is less contrast between the type and the background. The audience will have difficulty reading those slides. The size and the width of the type also impacts the contrast. Larger type and wider type has more contrast, so it is somewhat easier to read. Another strategy for easy-to-read slides is that of size of type. Using a rule of thumb that the people in the back of the room must be able to read the copy is a way to judge legible text size. And as you see here, the larger and wider type is more easily read. It's recommended that 28-point type be the minimum used in a presentation. How much text on a slide is also another strategy that can make slides more legible. Slides that are easy to read have little text on them. Keep in mind, you don't want your audience reading your slides instead of paying attention to you as a speaker. So, no more than 5 to 6 bullet points. Use phrases as bullets, not sentences, and don't include full paragraphs of texts. And by the way, did you note that I adjusted the bullet points on this slide to be more interesting by using the Smart Art feature in PowerPoint? Another slide design concern is that of crowding of elements. White space in graphic design is the space between the elements. And no, it doesn't have to be the color white. It can be any color. It's more about the spacing. This space helps organize your information on a slide so the audience isn't overwhelmed and so that the audience can easily comprehend what is happening on the slide. In this slide, note the overlapping elements. They're crowded. They lack white space. There's also random placement of elements on the slide. As someone seeing this slide, I don't know which element to look at first. Of course, I've exaggerated the crowding and misalignment to make a point. In this version of the slide, white space between the elements and aligning the elements using a grid helps the viewer make sense of the slide. The viewer knows the order that they are expected to view the elements. Western readers read from the top left to the bottom right as indicated by the yellow arrow in this slide. Placing elements in a slide to match that expectation helps the slide be easier for the viewer to read and to understand. Another area that can help you make a more relevant and interesting presentation is using visuals. Using visuals on a slide rather than words engages the audience more easily. Visuals also help to maintain the audience's attention on the speaker rather than reading a lot of words on the slide. Images such as photographs are more interesting than words on a slide. This image nicely represents traditional communication. Graphic images are also more interesting than words on a slide. This infographic would nicely illustrate contemporary communication platforms, but there's also photographs, tables, or diagrams that can make slides interesting to look at and allow your audience to keep their attention focused on you as the speaker. And here we are at the closing. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions about preparing a presentation, be sure to reach out to me using the general discussion board or email. Thank you.